So every single entrepreneur out there is struggling with one key thing, and that is cash flow. The quickest way for you, of course, to get your cash flow right is to find a way to sell more. But now we've got all these restrictions. We can't see people face to face, or it's relatively hard to do so. It's a risk just leaving your home. How do you sell? How do you improve sales in a world of lockdown and COVID-19? Let me talk to a guru. In fact, he runs a business called The Sales Guru. That's my friend Mark Keating, who now joins me on the line, who's going to school us in how should I even begin to attack the question of sales during COVID-19. Mark, welcome. I know one thing you always talk about in most of your talks is about the mindset of a sales team and the mindset of the entrepreneur and the mindset of the sales management leadership. What becomes my mindset now? Because I can feel a little defeated at times.
Let's talk the sales truth. If I go back to pre-COVID or before COVID, I'd like to call it, for many entrepreneurs and business people, some were having a great year. For many, this year was already fairly challenging to do with the economy and a range of other things. I think that on the 27th of March, President Ramaphosa, we had the official lockdown. Prior to that, we'd have the knock on the door, and 15-20% of the time we'd have a challenge or a problem. 27th of March, COVID-19 arrived and slapped us all straight onto our backsides. And I think it's put a massive magnifying glass on every single business, regardless of a one-person business or the massive enterprises, to understand the vital importance that sales has in their business. And, you know, as much as you can cost cut during this period, once you've shaved your costs, your business is still not going to survive unless you have exactly what you mentioned, cash flow. Cash flow is everything to a business, and it's down to sales. So I just wanted to highlight something at the start that I've seen certainly over the last 3 months, that for the first couple of months, a lot of people sat back, and it's okay for a small bit to feel sorry for yourself to a degree. But those days are long past, and it's something I'm very passionate about, that you've got to get off your backsides and fight back. It's time to no longer let that elephant in the room, this COVID-19, run amok. Get up and fight back. And leading to your point around mindset, there's this old saying, you know, whether you think you can or can't, you're 100% correct and will find every reason to support your decision. And where this leads into, I think, you know, in regards to sales, the sales truth, people buy for their reasons and not yours. And that people will buy anything, regardless of what your product, service, offering is, provided they believe that they are going to be better off than where they are right now and what is important to them. And there are three main buckets that I think a lot of services or products or offerings fall into right now. And it's a very important point. The first thing is, have you got something that is seen as business critical or personally critical? And generally that falls into, can you help me really genuinely reduce costs, save time, or increase sales or cash flow? If you've got something like that, people are desperate to actually speak to you right now across multiple industries of all sizes. If you've got the second bucket, strategically important, is this important to what it is that I'm looking at as part of what I'm wanting to drive my biz or myself personally? I'll have a conversation. But if you're sitting with something that is seen as purely a nice to have, and you can't align the value around those two, I think you're going to struggle. And excuse me, going on a little bit of a rant here, but I think the end result of this, before I hand back to you, is sales has been, is, and always will be the asking business. You're in sales, you're in business, you're an entrepreneur. The number one thing that you've got to be good at is asking people to potentially engage with you to buy your product, service, etc. And some people have gone very quiet over COVID-19. If you aren't out there hustling now more than ever before and engaging with people, you're not going to find those people in those three buckets. So now more than ever, the importance of sales, the most important element of a business, in my opinion, for cash flow. The second element is working out what have we got, who potentially can we help to be better off, and let's engage with them as much as possible and far more than my competitors.
Does it change the strategy that I had before? You know, I had a chat with a strategist not so long ago in another webinar, and we were talking about the need to change strategy. Are you tweaking your sales strategy right now? Are you making some cosmetic changes, or are you overhauling? I mean, is this calling for a total mind shift to how you did things before? And because that's an important question for me to understand, to prepare myself emotionally about the journey I'm about to get into. What does COVID-19 do? Small tweak, fundamental change.
I think it's so dependent on what your business is, what you offer, who your customer base is. And again, getting back to that magnifying glass, if prospecting and engaging with people in regards to getting them to potentially buy your product services was not a priority before this, you're sitting in a major or a massive challenge right now. I think the number one thing is getting out and ensuring that if you talk about a peak or a major tweak, I would have that front and center in my business. I suppose that there are two things on that, Andile. The one is, if I just go back a step, one is customer attention is the number one thing. You've got to make sure that you don't lose any of your existing customers wherever possible. There are some industries that is out of your control that you're going to lose some clients across various industries and sectors. But you better make sure that you're engaging in front and center with them, because your competitors are desperate for business and chasing. Yeah. But the other thing is, whilst you can maintain or at least maybe reduce a bit on that, you've got to get out. So from a strategy and what do I change? I make sales front and center in my business. I look at my target market very, very quickly, and I sit with myself or if you've got a team, and I work out how is it that I'm going to spend as much time as I can every day building pipeline and retaining my clients. That's got to be mission critical, number one.
As we go into living with COVID, trying to make sure that we're complying with all of the restrictions that come with it, there is also the impact that it has on jobs. And now I'm going to the sales teams. So let's imagine I'm a B2B business and I need a sales team to go and sell. Pre-COVID, we had a model where there was a bit of a basic, but the majority of what they earned was commission. But things now are a little bit tough, and I want to hold on to my good salespeople. I'm running out of cash, but I want to give them a deal that's compelling. What do? Do I call sales staff? Do I change the remuneration kind of model? How do I hold on to really good salespeople in a time where the comp that they used to earn isn't as high, and they may very well either leave me for a higher basic elsewhere or even change careers?
I think that question has been on so many people's minds that are running sales teams, literally from day one of COVID. And I've seen organizations cull sales teams. My opinion is that I want to ensure that I keep my good people no matter what. And I was chatting actually with another entrepreneur last week on Friday, and they were talking about greatly reducing their commission structure. And personal opinion, I think it would be the worst thing that you could possibly do. In this time, if I'm sitting with people that are bringing in business cash flow, it's the oxygen to my business. That is the one area that I don't want to mess with. And I think what's vitally important, if you're in sales and you weren't worth more than what you were costing before COVID, you're sitting in a massive challenge right now about holding your job. And it's a sad state of affairs. Generally, I don't like to see anyone out of work. And you know, the effect that this is having across all industries has been catastrophic. But if I'm sitting with a sales team, what do? I want to make sure that I'm keeping them incentivized. I want to make sure that I'm looking after them to the best of my business's ability, and I don't lose my good people. In some cases, I might have to, dependent on cash flow, sit down and have a one-on-one discussions to reduce maybe some of the basic, but I'm going to increase the commission structure to ensure that that really becomes attractive. Because here's the end result. If I'm not making it attractive for you to stay and you're good and bringing business, you are going to start to look elsewhere.
Gotcha.
Where I'm sitting with people whereby they haven't been worth more than what they cost, or out of their control and my control, that business is a lot slow right now and my company cannot afford to keep them on. These are discussions I've seen people having to reduce. Okay, we're going to have to reduce by 50% your basic, but we're going to increase the commission. Even in some cases, I've seen people go, we just cannot afford cash flow on the basic, but I'm going to give you the best commission structure of all time to ensure that any biz you bring in, you're earning from cent one or a much greater thing. So it's on a case-by-case basis, but you've got to protect your business. At the end of the day, protect your business with the eye or you know, the foresight that I have to bring sales in. I hope that gives you kind of a broad answer.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Let's leave it there. Mark Keating, of course, thank you very much for all of the great guidance you give entrepreneurs. That was Mark Keating, everybody, from Sales Guru. Check him out at salesguru.co.za. He's got a lot of courses that we can take as individuals or as teams to try and make sure we find a way to improve our sales in these difficult times. Marky, always a pleasure, sir.
Andela, pleasure's all mine, and all the best to you and your team and what you guys are doing out here in South Africa. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mark.